President Trump threatened to place a 200% tariff on European wine, champagne, and other spirits if the EU goes forward with a proposed 50% tariff on American whiskey. Joining us now is Chris Swanger, Distilled Spirits Council President and CEO. And I got to tell you, Chris, looking back at the history of our relationship in terms of distilled spirits with Europe, I didn't realize it's like a saga. And in the last 3 years, we had 0 for 0, didn't we? But prior to that, the EU used to unilaterally kind of screw us over on this, Chris? And we got to 0, and now they're putting it back on like they used to do it as a retaliation to some other things that Trump has done. But this doesn't seem like Trump's fault. This seems like the EU started it.
Okay. Perspective in a history of it. From 1997, for about 22 plus years, the U.S. and the EU agreed to a 0 for 0 tariff agreement between the two trading partners. And we had 450% growth. In the first Trump presidency, as he was leaning in to bring in more steel and aluminum manufacturing for national security purposes, unfortunately, in June 2018, it was the EU that imposed a 25% tariff on American whiskey. And what that really did is embroil the distilled spirits industry in a tit-for-tat. And just a couple of days ago, there was a suspension of those tariffs. During the time that a 25% tariff was applied to American whiskey for about a 3+ year period, we saw a 20% decline in American whiskey exports. So a couple of days ago, in response to the president's efforts to bring more steel and aluminum manufacturing back to the United States, unfortunately, the EU suggested that they're going to put a 50% tariff on American whiskey. And then, of course, everybody saw the president's social media post. Let me just say this. The spirits industry between the United States and the EU is so intertwined. We're together on this. There is no light between us. And we think there's a great opportunity for the president to lead. He's a great deal maker. Of course, we all know that. And there could be just a great opportunity to take this issue off the table. And really unfortunate that the EU did what they did.
So, yeah, that's where it gets complicated now. Because 0 for 0 tariffs is great. And you told us how it worked and how beneficial, mutually beneficial it can be, both countries. Okay. So then you get a security concern that is totally separate from the distilled spirits business, and suddenly that becomes linked by either entity, whether it's the EU or the United States. And now you're back, using this as sort of a bargaining chip. Your industry becomes a bargaining chip in what the United States might be trying to do. It could even happen with semiconductors. This could happen if you start linking things that are totally unrelated. It just becomes an absolute mess, which is why the whole idea of getting rid of reciprocal tariffs, that's probably something that makes a lot of sense.
We completely support and recognize the president's leadership in support of fair and reciprocal trade. And really, our industry is the model for that. Our industry thrives. We are able to export in 51 markets without tariffs. And I'll give an example. In India is the largest whiskey market in the world. And for years, the Distilled Spirits Council and others have been working to take down 150% tariff on whiskey and other distilled spirits in India. And just 2 or 3 weeks ago, when Prime Minister Modi came in to meet with the president, to the credit of the Prime Minister, he offered to take down that 150% tariff to 100% tariff. Now, the president, India and the U.S. is going to work on a free trade agreement, and American whiskey has a little small market in India. That could be a great opportunity if we get that tariff down. But switching back to the U.S. and the EU and some of the challenges our industry is experiencing, certainly with Canada and Mexico and so forth. Really, our industry is the model for fair and reciprocal trade, and we're going to need the president's help and support to get after this. And let me just tell a quick story on how intertwined our industry is. 20 plus years ago, there were about 60 distilleries in the United States, and today there's over 3,100. Many of them small mom and pop distilleries popped up in beautiful communities all around the country. Those distilleries want to be able to export, and the best way for them to export, to win, share, taste, and sip for consumers around the world to try American whiskey is to have zero for zero trade. In the EU market, the Canadian market, the Mexican market are large markets for us. In the same time, we've got St. Patrick's Day coming up on Monday. Just 10 years ago, there were 4 distilleries, Irish whiskey distilleries in Ireland, and now there's over 50. Why? Because the U.S. marketplace is a big market opportunity for Irish whiskey, and American consumers love Irish whiskey like they love cognac. So our industry is really intertwined, and apart from some of the broader trade issues like steel and aluminum, this industry is a precious industry that has a broad impact to the broader hospitality industry. We're tied from grain to glass with the agriculture community. It goes to bars and restaurants. And our industry has been constricting a little bit. Beverage alcohol enjoyment has been constricting over the last couple of years. So, you know, our heads have been on a swivel over the last couple of weeks. We recognize and appreciate the broader issues that President Trump is trying to grapple, but we also need him to cut a deal and make sure that the United States, with Canada, Mexico, and the EU, this industry is left apart, because this industry and American jobs and American economic vitality will only thrive when we have fair and reciprocal trade, and that includes zero for zero tariffs.